Hello friends, we are here to present a series of lectures on environmental management system. The series will be presented in four lectures. The first lecture will cover the need, relevance and background of the environmental management system. The second and the third lecture in the series will cover the basic 5 elements of the environmental management system, and the fourth lecture in the series would present the basic steps for implementation of an environmental management system. Starting with the first lecture, our today's lifestyle after the Industrial Revolution no doubt has brought a lot of quality to the life, but at the same time, it is coming at a cost. We enjoy industrial manufacturing process quality, transportation quality. There are commercial buildings that are there, residential buildings. There are quality of life, but everything is coming at a cost. The cost that we are paying today is the pollution of the air, pollution of the water bodies, and also of the earth. Human actions today have become a threat for all the beings on this earth, be it the flora, the fauna, or the human beings himself. So there is a great need to understand that the earth is being polluted and we do not have an alternate planet to go to. Our activities today have actually made the green environment as a black environment. There is a great need to manage our environment in such a way that we behave responsibly and also sustainable growth and development are achieved at the same time, and we are not compromising the quality of our life. Environmental issues need to be addressed. If we do not manage it now, they will start costing us money and maybe our lives in the same time. Coming to what an environmental management system is, it is basically a framework, a system that is implemented by the organization in terms of an administrative system which is systematic, structured, and also documented at the same time. All this system is implemented with the main idea of managing the environmental affairs related to the activities of the organization. What an environmental management system basically tells, if we are saying an organization has implemented the EMS system, it tells that the organization has taken a proactive approach towards managing its activities so that the harm to the environment is minimized, and at the same time the organization is complying to all the statutory and regulatory requirements associated with its activity, and at the same time the system is continually improving to serve the environment and the society in a better fashion. What exactly an EMS does? If an organization is having an environmental management system is in place, they are actually demonstrating their environmental performance, and at the same time they are achieving lot of cost savings. These days, people are becoming aware about the various aspects of environmental pollution related to the activities of the human, be it production, service sector, or the marketing sector. So everyone is aware that there is pollution that is happening. So there is a great need for us to proact to it before it becomes too late. So with an organization having a management system in place for this aspect is actually showing that they are very proactive towards the corporate social responsibility and they are a good corporate citizen. Coming to the benefits of environmental management system, the benefits are manifold, from tangible, which we can actually see, measure, and to ranging to intangible. Coming to the tangible benefits, which are in terms of economic benefits, there is a reduced use of the various materials used for the production process. The energy consumed in the process is also reduced. The process is actually managed more efficiently, giving more output for a given input, and at the same time, the waste generated is also reduced, thereby the money required to dispose it is also saved. And at the same time, we are trying to reuse and recycle the waste generated from the process. So all this we can very much comprehend, friends, is leading to monetary benefits to the organization. Let's have a quick look at a little diagram. As we all discussed, starting from the waste minimization, improved process management. We have an improved process with which we are managing our processes. So there is a reduced use of raw material, again savings in the production. Then resource efficiency is involved. We are reducing, reusing at the same time, and also recycling the material, again an economic benefit to us. We have a better dealing with our client, so contract management comes into place. So an happy client is no doubt is what is the buzzword today, client service. So a better contract management comes into place. At the same time, energy savings are accomplished, waste is minimized. So all these are related to direct monetary benefits to the organization implementing the environment management system. Coming next to the intangible benefits associated with it, there is no doubt a very harmonious and balanced development of the economic activity related to the production. The sustainable and non-inflationary growth, which is respecting the environment, is happening at the same time, because when we are using all the resources provided to us, we have to understand that the earth that we got, the resources that we got, is not what our ancestors have given to us, but we have borrowed it from our future generations. So we have to use the resources in such a way that apart from meeting our demands, we leave enough resources for the future generations to meet theirs. At the same time, by managing our environmental aspects of the systems, we are raising the standard of living and the quality of life by providing better water, better air, and better land to the people. Environmental protection is being taken care of at the same time, which is a really big need. Again, with the prevention of pollution, there is a balance in the socio-economic activity of the neighborhood. At the same time, we can very much comprehend from our discussion till now that the benefits associated, the tangible and intangible benefits, they're not only benefiting the organization implementing this environmental management system, but also the people associated with the organization, all the stakeholders, the adjacent property owners, the environmental groups, they all benefit from such system. So we have to understand it is everyone's job to protect the environment. Coming to the background of where this environmental management system originated, I would take you to the International Organization for Standardization, which we all know as ISO. ISO has developed a couple of standards that can help the organizations to take a proactive approach towards managing their environmental issues by implementing the environmental management system and the associated activities. But we have to understand the ISO's role here is only of issuing the standards. It is not actually operating any scheme for seeing whether the organizations are conforming to the system or not. ISO is not an auditor or an assessor or a registrar or a certifier for this management system. It is only issuing the standards. Now again, the environmental management system is not only about the activities of the organization, but also related to all the products it generates, the service or the services it provides, or any personnel associated with it. So everything is involved in the environmental management system. So exactly who are the certifiers then? If we say I have an environmental management system in place, so the certifiers are actually other certifying bodies. There are more than 750 bodies across the world whom can be approached to come and assess your system, whether you have actually established and implemented a system for environmentally managing your activities. So the basic idea, again, the background goes to the ISO 14000 family of standards, which are also called the environmental management standards. And again, the beauty of these standards is that they can be implemented on any type of organization, whether it is public or private, any type of sector, from companies to administrations to public utilities. Speaking of where this 14001 ISO family came up, this was basically developed by the Technical Committee ISO TC 207 back in 1993. So there was actually an intensive consultation from all the environmental experts from all over the world. More than 100 experts gave in their reviews, and there was an ISO strategic advisory group on environment that was actually formulated, which came up with the recommendations, and what we see the final product is the ISO 14000 family of environmental management standards. Now, referring to a standard ISO 14001, which is basically providing an outline for the environmental management system. As I had told before, this kind of system can be integrated into any type of organization, and the idea is to integrate the system into the basic functioning of the organization so that the long-term and the short-term goals of the organizations are not hindered and they are functioning in an environmentally responsible manner. So this system, it is not only addressing the environmental aspects of the organization, but also of its processes, of all the products it is producing, or of any service that it is providing. So here we can take a look at basically if an organization, say, is producing a product, so the final processes that it is using to produce it, the raw material it is using, the type of energy it is consuming, the waste it is generating, the product that is being made, all these will be then covered under the management system. Say I am a service provider company we can take an example of a courier company. So it is basically providing a service of delivering the packages. So their basic input goes into the packaging that is used, all the packaging products that are used, and then thereby when they are delivering the products, so all the vehicles that they are using, there is energy going into it, there is fuel going into it. So an organization can actually take a look at how they can manage all these systems, which will lead to their tangible benefits and at the same time also do little harm to the environment. In fact, we should aim at doing minimal harm and no harm at all. But the first step, given the stage at which we are right now with the type of lifestyle we are enjoying, there is really a need to reduce it at a very drastic manner. Now again, another news, I think we are all aware, most of the companies are ISO 9001 certified, which means the company, the organization has established a quality management system, which basically relates to quality of whatever it does. So there is a quality in whatever type of product or service that they are providing. The ISO 14000 family is actually compatible with this. So if an organization is trying to aim for both quality and environmental management system, so these two standards are actually compatible with each other, which comes to an aid to the organization to accomplish these both targets in a minimal time. So the background of the ISO 14000 family, technically it is based on the very famous PDCA cycle, which all of us involved in management know of. PDCA cycle is actually plan, do, check, act, which acts as a cycle. Actually, which also has the element of continual improvement involved in it. Now here I would like to stress on the word continual. There is something called as continuous, and this is called continual. Continuous improvement is that I am improving, and there is, say, a linear graph which says this is a continuous improvement. But continual improvement means I improve myself, I come to a level, then from there I improve further, go to the next step, practice these practices for some time, then have another step of improvement. So continual improvement is type of a step improvement that we look at, and continuous is type of a linear graph. So continual improvement is basically about implementing a system, having exercised it for a bit, and then realizing that there is still scope for improvement, and that is when we go to the next step of continual improvement. So the ISO 14000 standards also are based on this cycle of plan, do, check, act, and continual improvement. So let me take you to the details of how these standards are referring to it. Now, if I talk of an environmental management system, so coming to the planning part of it, we can take for an example how to implement the environmental management system can be one of the planning activity. Another planning activity can be to address the environmental aspects which are related to the products or the standards. So if we can see, there are a couple of ISO that has been developed which are a part of the 14000 family. So for the environmental management system, we have ISO 14050-2009. We also have ISO 14001, which was implemented in 2004. ISO 14004, again, which came out in 2004. We have ISO DIS 14005 for that purpose. Now coming to addressing the environmental aspects, first is ISO Guide 64 that came out in 2008. Then we also have ISO CD 14006, and another one is ISO TR 14062-2002. Coming to the next step after planning, once we have planned for something, the next part is to actually implement that thing. So coming to the do part of the PDCA cycle. So one of the activity that can be related to the do part is conducting a life cycle assessment of the various services or the products or the processes of the organization, and also how to manage these environmental aspects. Few ISOs of this family are ISO 14040, 14044, and also ISO TR 14047 and 49, TS 14048, ISO CD 14051, and WD 14045. Now another step would be to manage the greenhouse gases being emitted due to the activities of the organization. So there are basically 5 standards which are actually addressing this issue. ISO 14064 in part 1 and 2, then ISO WD 14067 again in part 1 and 2, and ISO AWI 14069. Coming to the third step of the PDCA cycle, plan, do, third step is the check. So when we actually have implemented a system, we need to keep a check on it, whether are we on the track or not. Whatever was planned, has that been achieved or not? So we need to keep a check on it. So there is a need to conduct some audits and evaluate our performance. So the 3 standards coming to our aid are 14015, 31, and 19011, which can also be used in this case. Another is to evaluate the greenhouse gas performance. So the ISOs related to this are 14064, part 3, 65, and also 66. Okay, so once we have checked, we have done some audits, we might come to know that there have been some shortcomings in implementing the system. The system may have been documented well, it may have been planned good, but there have been some problems in implementation, or it can be vice versa also. The planning itself, the way it was done, it is not actually in compliance with what the situation actually the organization is facing. So that is where once we have actually seen that there are some shortcomings, now we need to act on it, take some corrective actions so that we are back on track. So for the act part of it, we have some of the activities related would be communicating and use of the environmental declarations and claims, for which we have ISO 14020, 21, 24, 25, 33 and 63 with us. So coming to the basic standard, which is the ISO 14001, which I mentioned earlier, is a part of the planning of the part of the environmental management systems. It is called the environmental management systems. What are the basic requirements with guidance for use? So this is the basic standard that has to be used by the organizations to actually frame a system, a management system for the organization, henceforth, which they would be managing the environmental aspects of their activities. So the fundamental of this system is that the organization has to be managed by interrelated processes. That is, each and every process has to be linked to each other, so that there is a holistic approach to addressing this environmental management issue. So all the processes at the first time, again, they have to be planned, their relation has to be identified, some goals has to be set. Say the organization has a goal to not produce more than X cubic liters of wastewater per day. So an organization can set some goals. They can set some goals with regard to reducing the carbon footprint of their organization. So some type of goals have to be set. As we all know, if we have a goal, something to be measurable, to be read, we can achieve it very easily. So again, at the same time, we have to set our goals. We have to identify what all are the processes that are involved that will impact this goal. How are these processes related, and how at the end of the day then I can measure how well I did or how bad I did. So all the goals have to be measurable. We have to understand that. Then only it is possible to achieve them. Okay. And at the same time, as I said, another important aspect is the improvements. So there has to be a continual improvement in place at the same time when we are implementing this system. So basically this ISO 14001 is providing us an outline on how to establish this environmental management system. As I mentioned, there are basically 5 elements of this system, what 14001 is doing. So 14001 is actually also following the PDCA cycle. So first of all, as I said, we have to set a goal. We have to have a stand, what an organization intends to do. So that is called the environmental policy. So they are required to have a policy statement, which of course has to come from the top management. Then next they will start planning for this management system, wherein they will first identify what are the aspects related to environment which are actually affected due to their services or products or processes. Then they have to identify all the legal and statutory requirements related to their organization. Say, because of the type of activity, they may come under the purview of the State Pollution Control Board, Central Pollution Control Board, or they might need to have some environmental clearance, environmental impact assessment might have to be done. So all these kinds of things have to be identified by the organization in the planning stage. Then again they have to set their objectives, their targets, okay, in measurable form after having a policy that I intend to do this. Now next is to have objectives and targets in some measurable broken form. Okay. So next is the environmental management program has to be set in place, how it will be done. So after planning, next comes the implementation and operation part, wherein the structure and responsibility of the system will be identified. So we all know we have to have a structure, what will be the flow of authority and again the flow of responsibility at the same time. To achieve any task, we have to give the people the necessary authority and at the same time the necessary resources so that they can achieve the desired activity. Okay. Now next again, to do so we have to make them competent. So that can be in terms of training, awareness programs that has to be sorted out. Next part is the communication. There has to be constant communication among all the elements, all the stakeholders of the system, all the people those have been given responsibilities. Okay, all this system has to be documented because documentation is required so that it is a process. So the things should be process driven and not person driven. Say a person is not available from some years back down the line who developed this system, so the system should not stop. It should be well documented so that the next person can take his place and the show must go on. So next comes is all the documentations. Now if we are saying we have to document it, the documents have to be very systematic and they have to be properly controlled, as in they should be identifiable that this is the type of document, this is the person responsible for implementing this document, this is a certified copy of it, this is till when it is valid. So all these kind of details which we will be discussing later on. Okay, then there has to be operational control, as we all understand, when it is actually implemented in field. So it has to be, the operational control has to be there. And at the same time, since we are talking of environmental management, so there are emergencies we all understand that can arise. There may be a short circuit, there may be a fire. So in case such things happen, there is not only a loss of life, there is loss of property and there is damage to environment also. So being prepared for this emergencies is also a part of this environmental management system. Coming to the next plan do, now coming to the checking and corrective action, as I already introduced this term. So basically now we have to monitor how our system is going. We have implemented it, we have to monitor it and at the same time measure it and record it, which again goes into the documentation part, right? So there might be some non-conformances, which means I might not be conforming to what I was actually supposed to do. So those non-conformances have to be identified, corrective actions to corrective have to be taken. But again, at the same time, we understand prevention is better than cure. So preventive action should also follow. So corrective action is a reaction to a problem that has arisen. Preventive action means being proactive so that I take some measures so a situation doesn't arise at all. Okay. So again, records have to be managed at the same time. And there will be some audits, as I said, some audits need to be done. Somebody should come and see how the system is running. A third party, a person who is not directly involved in the system. So another person from outside person should come and do an audit. So again, as I said, to conduct all these activities, resources are required. The resources no doubt will be provided by the top management. So top management should always be kept in the loop after all these audits and corrective actions. The management has to be told about it. The management should review where the system is going. Is it as what was planned or not? So management review becomes an important part, and which again leads to the cycle of continual improvement. So continual improvement has to happen at all stages of this cycle of environmental management system being implemented as per ISO 14001. Okay. So friends, we will stop this lecture here. So in this lecture, we had discussed about the need, the relevance of managing our environment, since a lot of industrial activity is related to the environmental degradation that has happened. So there is a need to actually monitor and manage this type of activity, the production activity, the service activity. So that is where the environmental management system comes into play, and this is as per a international standard organization's guidelines, ISO 14000 family, so that there is a common standard all over the world and some environmental betterment can be achieved. And we discussed about the ISO 14001, which is the basic standard for implementing this system. And we discussed in very briefly, took a quick look at the various components of this cycle. So in the coming next series, series 2 and series 3, we would be discussing these 5 components in detail, how to achieve them. Thank you so much.